Alright.
Are you going to share your PowerPoint?
Are you good?
Yeah.
It was my arms.
Alright, so welcome back to the afternoon session. I can see everyone's dealing with food.
Fine.
Fair warning. If you eat all of that foot-long, mega-long sandwich, food coma will hit you in 25 minutes. That's my experience. Glad you enjoyed the morning session. High energy, there's a lot of questions to ask and come back. What we're going to do in the afternoon is we're changing up a little bit the rhythm. We're still talking about development, we're still talking about residential, or mainly the direction of development and residential. Tony will come, they're taking some lunch. Tony will come back in the, for a little bit in the afternoon. But the main two speakers and panelists of this afternoon session are Steve Gouache and Woody Hughes. William Hughes. Gotta call you all different names. And the interesting part of this is they're both alumni of this program. They're in different stages of their careers, different age groups, so there was also kind of different learning involved. They're extremely wonderful alumni. They have been absolutely fantastic students, so much for introductions. I have a formal bio for Stephen, copy and paste from your company's webpage. And I have like 2 words about Woody before Woody starts over with his own bio. And then, again, I do encourage you guys to ask them questions. This is a class that is scripted but not scripted, as in we have enough room to go down the other rabbit hole and enlighten you in the darkness of that question. And really go in depth with experiences. I think one of the biggest draws you will have from this past sessions and today and the next few is how people make choices in their careers. Because you are within those choices right now, or you're about to make those choices. So hold on tight. This is not going to be a roller coaster, but it's as evenly, if not even more exciting. Speaking of excitement, I make this short. I highlighted the important sections and we'll fill in materials. Stephen received a bachelor's at Florida Atlantic University, where he majored in both finance, international business, and trade, graduating cum laude. In 2013, Stephen joined the Class A multifamily developer, Altman Development, and was very successful in this, representing a capital investment in excess of $350 million. To expand his skill set and accelerate his career, Stephen attended Nova Southeastern University's MSRED program in 2016 and was introduced to the International Honor Society Sigma Beta Delta. During his experience at NSU, Steve received mentorship from Terry Stiles and met his business partner in New Orleans. Stephen currently sits on the advisory board of the MSRED and is actively involved with students participating in classroom sessions. He is also one very active alumni, trying to organize and actually organizing alumni events. If the calendar hasn't been posted yet, we will have actually a whole next year coming out for events that are focusing on continuing education and networking, social events, more formal events, a good mix. So be forewarned. April 27th, make some time after the class. We're doing a small social as form as a happy hour because all the speakers at that afternoon and whoever is interested will join us. Okay? That all said, miscommunication. Asking for a bio, we got swamped with things. Posted the Habitat webpage as part of his bio, knowing that actually there's no biography about you besides the contacts. Let me introduce Woody in a different way. January 2017, there was this one person in a computer lab standing and waiting for me. In January, I teach Argus development class, software, online for me. but we had office hours in the evening for that schedule. So there's this one single student, I think Bruce came in later, this one single student standing there, like he does right now. Professor Würzer, I'm William Hughes, I'm one of your students in the online class, I would like to introduce myself. In those decades of teaching, I never had that happening to me. Since then, he amazed me. You're also a big pain, but pain as in learning. You should not, I'm not shutting you down if you send me emails about learning advancements. So he also tried the last 1.5-ish years, 2 years almost, to get me to dive with him somewhere in the Keys. I happily refused because our schedules didn't work out. So we will have to do that this summer. On that note, I think he is an example of an outstanding student, outstanding character, and a person who really believes in higher education and making a difference forward and backwards, as in backwards to give back to the place where he learned. If you have anything else to say, go for it.
Well, I was born in Hollywood. I still live in Cooper City. I've been around, but I ended up staying, I think 90% of all people live within like 15 minutes of where they were born. It might be changing because things change now, but I love South Florida. I'm a big fisherman. I'm a certified captain. I ran boats for a few years, which is odd. But I was a rock star. My wife said I had to get a real job about 2002, and I did really well for what I did. So I went to FAU, right over here on the South Campus. I got my finance and marketing degree, a dual degree, which was a lot harder than just taking marketing. That was everybody's. I was already pretty good at that. Finance created a lot more. So I got into the real estate market in 2004 when it was super hot. Everything was crazy. I had an opportunity to be a bank manager. And I said, wow, real estate's a lot sexier. And I really didn't know that much. So for these gentlemen to hire me, I will finish after my PowerPoints and some of the things that I think this school helps you with. But when you get hired, people pay you to learn. Here, you have to pay to learn. So if you don't know it, you better be energetic and don't say anything. Take it to make it. Get online. And life's about learning. In real estate, I know we're, some of us are older. You're like, oh God, not another one of these old guys. But I'm going to try to make it entertaining, inspiring, and educational. I had a lot of PowerPoint slides, but after Dr. Wurzer sent me a little email to say relax and breathe, I cut most of it off. So I probably should have left some of them on there. But I just want to introduce you to Habitat, sort of some of the skills that I do, some of the costs that we have, and if you have any questions while we're going along, I'll stop. Everybody knows Habitat. It's like the 4th best brand in the world, believe it or not. It's I just went to a big conference in Atlanta, 2,300 inspired people. It is a nonprofit, but that doesn't mean we're not profitable. But we can't do it without all the volunteers, Publix, Spirit Airlines, the cities, everybody. It's a culmination of partnership to make this happen for people that make 80% AMI or less, which is about $65,000. So we only service people below that, which makes us unique. The second thing is we don't give the houses away. Most people think we give houses away. We don't give houses away. You have to work 300 hours of sweat equity on your house or other people's houses. And you have to put down $2,000 over a year. And you have to go through a big educational, financial, health. We have a whole school for not only the parents, even the children go through a school. So what we do offer, though, because of all the help and the way our business model is set up, is we give you a 0% interest loan. And nobody but Habitat can do that. Nobody else does it. So we can only do it because of our sponsors and great people like you that come out and help us. So anyway, there's kind of like our motto, and that's South Florida, which everybody knows has probably or is #1 in the least affordable rentals in the country. So the demand for affordable housing is huge, and you know, I know real estate's usually sexy and all this, but if you just buy a lot in Broward County, build a decent house on it. I sold the house because we couldn't get a buyer of our own in there fast enough. I had 100 calls in 3 days for a house that was brand new for $225,000. 100 calls in 3 days and sold it in like 15 minutes. So there's a huge need. It's not sexy like other parts of real estate, but there are a few lots left in Broward County. The key is to be in your own GC though, because if you have to have somebody else build it for you, you're going to lose 30% right there. Did you have something? Right.
You were talking about the means tested for the people that qualify for habitat. I don't mean to interject.
That's all right.
I'm just kind of curious about the AMI, that metric, and then 65 grand sounds like not. I thought like national average income was like.
That's family income.
AMI, not average. Average median income in Broward County, it's based in Broward County, for a family of 4 is around 65,000.
So anyone below 60% of that.
No, 80% or okay. Yeah, it's 80% of that 65. So we're at 80%. There's a website that the Atlantic Housing, I think it's the Federal Housing Atlanta Bank puts out. You just put all the numbers in, and he spits out the AMI. So we try to stay in that space, which is it's very hard because if you had to finance a $200,000 house at 0% interest is $566 a month. That's like a car payment, right? But if you put 5% on it, it doubles the cost. And then when we sell you a house, your equity buildup is immediate. When you finance, it's way down here and over here. So that's the beauty of what Habitat does. We just opened it up for family selection in September. We had 12,000 people come in through the system, and we ended up with 30 really good homeowners. 30 really good homeowners. So a nonprofit sounds like, oh, we don't make any money. So most people don't realize. I took this off a website because I'm not an expert in nonprofits, but it just means that number one is you get all the tax benefits of a nonprofit. You don't pay on your profits. Number 2 is you can't share them with anybody. So it's so that you can keep reinvesting in something, you know, usually community oriented. So when I started with Habitat and they called me, this is where our production was after a bad administration that we had in running the organization. So when I came in, there wasn't a lot of permitting being done, and it was kind of a cluster. I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I was in between jobs, and the need kind of matched my resume. So now we're at around 21 units per year. That takes about $6 million. I do our development, our land acquisition, our product design, and permitting, everything that has to do with building the houses other than building them. So our goal is to get up to about 25, and our board wanted us to get up to about 40 houses a year. The only problem with 40 houses in single family a year is there's not a lot of lots left in Broward County. So as the acquisition guy, I would rather do 25 really, really good. And now we're doing critical repairs because there's about 500,000 homes in Broward County with people that are fixed incomes or not that can barely take care of their homes because of the cost of living here. So now this is our new initiative. We're doing critical repairs. We're helping the county, the cities, and we go in and we help elderly, say their fascia's falling off, they need a paint job, fix their windows, whatever it is, because that's a lot faster and we can impact about 100 families a year. So this is this new critical repair that we're going to do, this line here that we just started. It's really a whole new business, and it's creating a lot of stress in our office because we're just really good at building homes. It's a whole new business, and you ask the same 10 people to do something really, really, really big. We're having to set up systems and strategies.
How are you selecting the people that qualify for that critical repair?
Well, we're doing applications, plus we're working with the cities and the county. They have a lot of money for this type of repair, and they don't have a lot of management to do it. So what they do is they have the funds. Habitat will probably be kind of like directing the traffic,
right,
and we will get our vendors to do the work. What we want to try to do is stay out of the houses, because when you start going into houses with volunteers, and people are all different, you have to have special volunteers when you start going into other people's people's houses and
Sure.
train. So roof would be preferable because everybody needs a new roof. Everybody has an old roof here in Broward County. And there's quite a bit of money for it. So this is a track from 2010. Over a 35-year period, we averaged about 12 units a year. And in the last 10 years, we averaged about 18. And last year, we had a flat line here because we had a bunch of money from a tax credit that we couldn't close the houses until August. So our fiscal year ends in June, at the end of June. So we had to roll over a bunch of houses into the next year, which kind of made it flat, but we're still doing pretty good.
So Woody,
Yes.
with the land market being problematic and for new supplies,
Mm-hmm.
what about changing the product from this beautiful single family homes, small but beautiful, to townhomes and go up with higher density?
Well, that's what everybody wants to do. And the first thing I did when I went to Habitat, I'm going to show you a slide here in a minute, is, wow, it'd be great to put, we don't use the word duplex, single family attached homes on each lot so we could double our density. Or density on everything that we do. However, there's existing zoning codes that are not really favorable. But there is a statute called 420 that is a state statute that allows for, it's kind of my pistol. Very few people know about it, but when I get in trouble, I break it out. It's a state statute on affordable housing, and it says you shall partner, you will. So when at the Atlanta conference, everybody has the same problem we have in Broward County, maybe more intense or less. But in Denver, it's like $200,000 a lot. In California, it's $500. You know, here it's about 50. So density and up, and getting 2 units on every, or now they're talking about the granny houses, and they're thinking of everything they can. And actually, the state government, the local municipalities, and the federal government want affordable housing to happen, but everybody's got to get on board, and they got to relax that regulation and zoning because it's you don't know how hard it is for me to get a permit in Broward County. I'm sure there might be a few people that know, but it's a real job getting a permit in Broward County. And I'm really good at it. It takes me about 6 weeks. Most people take 6 months. I get a little favoritism because we're a nonprofit, and I get interface, and I make sure it happens. But statute 420 it says that you can relieve setbacks on building. Right now, Miramar gave us 3 lots, and they said we want to maximize them. Build a single attached homes. We work together, design a house, duplex, 1,283 square feet. But it's like the setbacks are small, they maximize it, but they can do it because of the government, so we're partnering with them. Even when it came to tree mitigation in Broward County is very expensive. And they get you by the throat, you gotta pay the mitigation whether you're a nonprofit or not. And so they had a couple big trees on their lots in Miramar before they gave them to me. I said, hey, why don't you guys take those trees out first? Because if we end up mitigating them, a big oak tree can cost you, number one, $2,000 to remove it, another $5,000 to mitigate it. And then you start putting trees in parks and stuff. So if the government would work with all these nonprofits better and relax the zoning, the setbacks, and say this is the way we're going to do it, which I think is the way we're going, because everybody's lobbying, yeah, it would only make sense. It only makes sense. So I had a big, we had a big internal meeting to set some of our goals, and nobody had ever put what volunteers really mean to each build, each home. This is a typical home of ours. We put about 1,300 hours of volunteer, and if this I got from a website that's $15 an hour for the simple labor. So every time a volunteer comes out, I mean, it really helps Habitat. I mean, it creates makes it more affordable for our future home buyers. So I had our Gina put all these numbers together, and I put a number to it, and every house, about $20,000 worth of labor comes from our volunteers. We just did a collegiate challenge. I don't know if anybody saw it on TV. But we had about 120 college students pay us to come build our houses. And they stayed over at Birch State Park, and we had a really, but when they come in, they're young, they paint like crazy, they put shingles down. It's amazing how much they can get done. So I wanted to quantify it because our Our volunteer director, sometimes she's probably not as valued as much as she should, but every time we build a house, if it's an atypical house where you have to do shingles on a barrel tile roof, it reduces about 30%. If it's two-story, it reduces it about 50% because you're not sending volunteers alone. Habitat is Broward is one of the last affiliates to let people on roofs because of insurance. Because most of them, they don't do it at all anymore. We build a barrier around so nobody falls off the roof, but it's still risky. So this is what it costs us to build a house, even with all of our help. We don't pay a GC. We have an exemption. We don't have to be a general contractor. We still have to follow the codes, and we can build up to 3 units attached. But that's the maximum, and not above 3 stories. So there's a statute that the state of Florida passed just for the habitats. And $122 a square foot, I don't know what everybody else is paying, but I heard that's pretty cheap. About $80 for the hard cost, a square foot. Soft costs, soft costs are about $35. The planning, the permits, the impact fees, we don't get any discount on impact fees either. I have to fight with them to get anything back. And in our management, it really should be about $130 because we lose a lot of management because of all the things that are going in our office that are not put in. And in this year, since I've been in Habitat, I've projected all these numbers, and we came up with a surplus of $51,000. That means that we were like right on. I mean, for a $2 million budget to come that close, that means we have some pretty good data that we're putting into these models to come up with these, and we were way out of whack. When I showed you that period before I came over to Habitat, everything cost us more than it should have. Yes, sir.
Is that a total move-in cost? I mean, does that include appliances and light fixtures and everything total?
Well, we get our appliances donated from Whirlpool.
No, but it's all netted out to that $120 a foot.
Now, if we had to pay a GC, it'd be 30% more.
Minimum.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If you go into business and you want to build small houses, if you have to pay somebody else to do it, my old partner, I'll get into that in a minute, but he made about $200,000 a year in the 80s building in Carroll City affordable houses. Affordable houses.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, so what do you do in place of a GC?
Say that again?
What do you do in place? Who, is it the foreman that?
No, we have a
comes out?
project manager. Alan, everybody that comes out's going to meet him. He's actually getting his GC license. I call him a young guy. He's in his 40s, but to me, he's kind of young. He's really smart. I've kind of like lifted him because we had a couple of guys that were not, they were not perfect for the position, so I kind of like promoted him up until we got him to the top. He's taken his GC license, plus we have a GC on staff. So right now we're planning a little 8-unit townhouse development, 4 and 4, which is above our exemption. When we originally priced it out, when I first started, we had a GC doing it, and it made it unfeasible to build because of that 30%. Now that we have a different staff and we have a GC on staff, we probably will build it. It's in North Lauderdale. The problem is the comps around there because we sell at appraised value habitat. So sometimes it will cost you more to build than the appraised value. That's why D.R. Horton, Lennar, and all the big guys don't go into those neighborhoods. But we've been trying to partner with the CLT, it's Community Land Trust. They're big, all in Broward and Dade, to kind of put a land trust underneath the property. And we're trying all kinds of partnerships. We want to do mixed income, where we're building the same as everybody else, we have a different product, and get different families, because that's the best success rate across the country. But the GC is once you get in management, GC involved, they have to make their money, and it's about 30%. I don't know what it costs everybody else, but it's usually about 30%. So even Habitat is very strategic, believe it or not. We have a CEO, she's a banker, and you know, I worked for 4 guys before. We never had a strategic plan. We all knew what we were doing. You had it up here. But it's this is my KPI. I started in the beginning of the year, and we track everything. So it's hard to see because of the size of it, but originally I wanted to acquire it, and I had this big budget. I set my budget in of $2 million, asking for more than I want, right? When it came back, they didn't even show it to me. I got to buy one piece of land, $500,000 acquisition, and then the acquisition of lots had to come down to that, no money. They didn't say that, but everybody didn't have any money. So it was limited by the budget constraints. I did buy one nice development off of Power Line in 19th Street. I think I used it in a couple of my slideshows here at the school for $500,000. I'm planning it for 25 units. And the city of Fort Lauderdale wants to partner with us to do a lot of the infrastructure, which is great, because they have a whole new administration over there. Before, they did not like affordable housing. Now, Ben Soren, and I met with the city manager the other day. They're very excited because they want to do something about affordable housing. So they do it, you're quarterly and then where you are. And the other day, the CRA, I was working on it for about 2 years. The CRA donated 9 lots to Habitat. Doesn't sound like a lot, but the value is about $360,000. And it comes with some constraints because they want to tell us what facade, what square footage, but that's okay. But they do it right on 27th Avenue and 6th Street, just above Atlantic Boulevard. And what I did is I strategically bought 2 other lots, and I have a 3 under contract, but the guy's been arm wrestling with me, and I don't know if I'm going to finish the deal, but it was one of my goals. So even though we're a nonprofit, we're very, a lot of the nonprofits are very sophisticated business models because business people come in and you think it would be a lot less. And I permitted 21 units, but I have 5 more that I'm going to finish Monday. The permitting's a real job. It's a lot of work. And I have my assistant helping me with that now. Okay, so this is really what I came up with. I came to Habitat. There was no structure, but our board members are all very dynamic, attorneys and business owners. So really it has to start at the top. I got the CRA lots. I built a relationship with the CRA guy. His name is Tran. I think Professor Worcester's met Nugent Tran at the CRA at Pompano. He's doing that.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, super nice man. I've been building a relationship with him over the last 2 or 3 years. CRAs. And maximizing your current land holdings by increasing your density, which that's what everybody should be doing. You can go to the MLS, you can talk to realtors, but I just started, and which everybody's going to laugh because you're all digital young people. I just started a letter campaign. I put a little girl, cute girl that was little 4-year-old on the corner. It's got Habitat's logo, and we need some lots in Deerfield because we got sideways with the city to do a build. We can't build two units. We have to build 4 to 5 at a time with our MIT. You can't have lots all over the place. So I sent out 300 letters to 300 lot owners. I got the data, GIS data from the county. I said I want to know how many vacant lots are in there. And there's a couple nice, I can't remember his name, but a couple nice people over there if you need any data. Very inexpensive. And I sent out 150 and 150. The response was amazing. But it says Habitat on it. And I wish I had more money in my budget. So letters still work. And land and big pieces of land. If you're up in a different part of the country, I'll just tell you some secrets. Land is like children. If somebody owns a very expensive land and they're an investor, when they see a letter or something, they love to talk about it. So a lot of times they'll call you and just say, hey, what are you doing? And check out the market. So that's sort of our structure. So part of that KPI, this is our 4-year build, project build out. I put all this together. Some of it there's some wild cards in there, but the yellow is our ribcage project, which we have 77 units. That's pretty easy. That Middle River project, I still have to get a conditional approval. I got to get the engineering done. So I had to do this for our organization and our board so that we knew where we were building, how many units, what we projected. Over here, it's like 132 units over the next 4 years. And believe it or not, planning is big in the construction business, or probably any.
Did you use Microsoft Project? Or?
This is an Excel. Well, my next slide is a project. Okay. This is an Excel project, which is a lot simpler that somebody shared with me. It just kind of has the dates on the side, and once you start filling it, populates this, and then I cut it out and turn it into a PDF, because you got all this data all over the place. And then I implanted that which most of you know that if you were in any of my teams, that I'm pretty good with data and making it understandable. That's the thing. You have to make it understandable, and that's Habitat's 4-year budget build out. Which there is some wild cards. If I didn't get the CRA lots that I had planned in here, I'd have to adjust that. Construction's all about change. Nothing ever stays. Everybody wants to plan like 2-3 years out. I'm like, we'll do our best. So this, who here has seen this schedule, this chart, this here? Let me tell you something. Either you're in business for yourself or you work for somebody. But knowing this skill sets you apart from everybody else. Because most people don't, it's Microsoft Project, which is not an easy, and the new version's even worse. So I have a 2015 or 16 because they put a new version out that changed all the top. And so I just learned this about a year ago, and I still have a lot to learn. But when you do this and you go into the meetings and you're with all these sophisticated people, that's what they want to see. And if you don't know how to do that, I would suggest during your curriculum or after that you start working in Microsoft Project, because it will set you apart from everybody else. And if you get in an organization, not that you want to be a project manager, but you will get a lot of work and a lot of experience and a lot of people wanting to work with you just because of this. So this was our RIT case permitting. So I have to track everything I'm doing. Of course, it adjusts as things don't go your way. And then this is my mirror mark. So this is like really I think it goes out to, this was about 2 months ago, and this is the end of my permitting for now. So this has been, it's 200 and something days. And you can put it there, you can sit down with your organization, and because in Habitat, they gotta know when the houses are starting, when they're ending, COs, and this is just for me. This is just so I can, and then there's another layer for construction. Because if you don't get the house CO'd, you can't sell it. So I would highly recommend everybody, especially if you're young, to learn this because I have project managers that are doing our site work. I don't want to say any names. In American Engineering, which is a big engineering firm, they're the guy that's the head of our build, doesn't know how to do this. So we asked for it for 4 or 5 months. Finally, I had to get nasty. I'm like, listen, you either produce this project so we know where we're going, and then our project manager, which supposedly knows project also, that works for Habitat and American, he gave me this one that it's like 7 pages wide. When you go to print, you have to adjust this. If not, you'll get, all the way back and all the way forward. So it is a great, and I only put that up there to show you that we are sophisticated. And if you can, I implanted all that other stuff. I turned it into an PDF and juice it up a little bit. But everybody wants to know when you're starting, when you're finishing, and they want to know if you're on track. And if you work for C.B. Richard Ellis or Lennar Homes, anybody, if you're not working for yourself and you get into business, and when you work for yourself, you want people giving you this because you got $2 million out there building a building, you want to know when it's done. And right now we're fighting with our a little bit with our site development, because we're going to have 7 homes done that you'll see in May, but we may not have infrastructure still. So, anyway, I had it a lot longer, but I kind of like toned it down a little bit.
You got more than I thought.
We have a question for you. So, as you were presenting, I was thinking to myself, it would be good for you guys to get some type of synergies with local municipalities. It sounds like you're in with Fort Lauderdale now for affordable housing programs. And I've had those discussions with them as well, and they're seeing the need for affordable housing in the area. Thomas asked the question, or Professor Ward asked the question about, increasing densities, going to a townhome product, potentially duplexes, understanding that, land is scarce, going through re-entitlements, rezonings, obviously a lot of time, a lot of effort, but now that you have those type of relationships with the cities, for example, Fort Lauderdale, is there a possibility to explore those options a little further and have some type of relief from them to where, you go in front of council, they'll have your back per se on the rezoning?
Absolutely. The whole council changed, the mayor changed, because we met with Lee, I believe it was Lee Feldman before, and we met with him when I first started at Habitat, and it wasn't going anywhere. They did not like affordable housing. They don't want to hear about affordable housing. The new administration that we're working with, we jumped right back in, Met with Ben Sorensen, and now I had a meeting with the city manager, and he said, okay, bring back some more finished products like the site plan, the elevations, and they want to really work with us. And most of the cities do. It's just, through the recessions, the cities didn't have a lot of money. Habitat broke a lot of its relationships. There wasn't, I think one of our reasons, and Professor Worcester may not like hearing this, but when you had like 5 million homes go into foreclosures and all the investors, including the big hedge funds, scooped them up, those were affordable houses back when, right? Well, now they're all in the hands of these investors, and one of the reasons our rents are so high is because all the investors own everything in Broward County. So it's good for you guys if you're an entrepreneur and you're a builder, and but it's bad for the resident, the community. But I think in the next couple of years, there's a lot of legislation going through. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Sandowski Fund. Okay, great. All right, that's a fund, and it's when you buy something and there's a property deed tax, it's 0.07. It's 0.07 of all the sales in Broward County. It generates about $50 million a year just for affordable housing for Broward County, because we get very little help. Guess how much is actually funnels down from the state to Broward County? 0. So they've been rating it, using it for all their other little things for the last. They left a little hole there in the paperwork. So hopefully there's some real push for them to actually start giving us maybe 10% of the monies that were supposed to come to Broward County every year for affordable housing. Because if we had $30 million coming in a year, it would make a huge difference. So that's just one of our big problems, because we get some federal money, but very little. We have a lot of sponsorship. We have grants that we get. And then the Mary Porter Foundation gave us $1 million. We have a very good development department. Rick Case gave us $500,000 for our 77 units. Channel 7 gave us $500,000 for our infrastructure. Infrastructure is not that sexy. Building houses is fun, and all the sponsors love that. But infrastructure is different. You gotta really. So we raised $3 million for our infrastructure, and the city gave us $645,000 for our sewer, because they're going to benefit from it once we put it in. But it's a $20 million project. So the governor's been there, Ben Carson's been there, and I think it's a really good template. But we have to do as an organization a really good job, because everybody's watching us closely, even the residents. Yes, sir.
How does the IRS look on this in terms of compensation or income revenue? I get a house for almost nothing. Is that a gain in some fashion?
Is there a gain?
Yeah, I mean, do I have to report that as income?
No, because we sell it at appraised value. We sell it at appraised value. So if it costs Habitat, the way the model works, just this is a little it's kind of related, just so you all know how, so you can visualize it. If the house costs $160 to build, and we get a sponsor for $80, Habitat is in it for $80. Okay. In addition to that, if the land comes from the city, we're still at $160, minus that is $80. The way we can do a 0% loan, we own 300 loans. We built about 450 houses. It turns into a bond, even though it's at 0%, because we're only in it for half of the cost. It generates about a 3% return, but our homeowners benefit from a 0% interest loan. There's never been any, Habitat's been around for 40 years. There's never been any issue because we sell it at appraised value, so there's really no discount there. Originally, we did discount it, and the neighbors hated us.
Wait, but when you say sell it at appraised value, how then is it affordable? Because if you're in Broward,
well, most of the houses we build are under $250,000. If you put 0% and divide by 360.
Yeah, I follow that, but I'm thinking like the neighborhood that's around you. What are they selling for? Because how are they pulling the appraiser? How are they pulling the comps?
Same way they always do.
Okay.
So if it's $125 or $140 a square foot, and you build it at one, and it costs you that, it could be a flat line.
Right.
But with our sponsorship, say Publix gives us $80,000 plus our $80 to build it, it all works out and, you know, all evens out.
But I guess I'm not following how it really becomes affordable. Is it just because there's not enough product in that area and then you're
It's
creating-
affordable because you're at 0%. And if you put 0% on $200,000, it's
So it's just the affordable
$566.
based on the payment.
And it has to be 30% of the person's income.
Gotcha.
We do the regular underwriting that a bank does.
Okay.
30%, can't be greater than that. Your upfront ratio can't be above
Gotcha.
30, you know, we act as a bank. We act exactly like a bank. That's why you get 12,000 in, and you have to be a Broward County resident. You can't have any type of criminal record.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that we want, you know.
Credit requirements.
Credit requirements, you know, you have to have, so if you have two brand new Mercedes in your front yard, and maybe you do qualify, but you have a business that you're doing hair cutting, you're not getting a house. And you have to have and you can never have owned a house before.
Gotcha.
It's a true first-time home buyer.
So
So-
to explain the business model again very carefully. So you are helping to build that property. You have qualifying home buyers that are putting sweat equity in. And they have to follow certain financial limitations or constraints, struggles actually, to be qualified for that. And once the house is done and you get the CO, the certification of occupancy, those qualified home buyers will buy the house from you and you are the bank giving them the loan.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so this is important to understand. There is, let's say in a very rough wording, there is no market involved but the appraisal. So it's not like you're putting it out on the market for 6 weeks. You can find it on Zillow. Yeah? So it's more an internalized process.
So most nonprofits in the housing that build affordable housing, they sell it to a bank, right? They sell it to a bank. The loan is a bank loan, but it's not. What happens there is unless they get a lot of first-time home buyer assistance to drive the loan rate down from like 300 down to 200 to make it affordable, and most nonprofits, affordable is under 120% AMI or 120%, and now it's even up to 140 AMI. So that opens up to a lot of additional people in the county. But again, to get a brand new house for $240,000 that has impact low E windows, soffits that stuccoed and outside overhangs, and we build a really good house. Yeah, it's not gigantic, but we want it affordable. There's an unlimited amount of people, and the reason I said that before is that if you get in that type of market, whether you're a nonprofit or not, you have an unlimited amount of buyers. If you get up into 600, 700 like Lennar and everybody else is doing, because the margins are bigger, your sales are slower because there's only so many people in the United States who can afford a $600,000 or $700,000 house.
I just want to piggyback on what she was saying with the housing cost, like the other neighbors around. I'm assuming that you find lots and in areas that are selling for the 200, 240, that's how you're able to keep your price. So, I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
We build in the worst neighborhoods in Broward County.
That's what I was thinking. So, and then the other thing was with Rick Case and like Publix and them. They have it as a tax write-off then when they donate the money, but because they're not looking for returns, they're just donating it, so it's like a tax write-off for them.
In addition, there's something called a community CCTPC. It's a community tax credit if you pay sales tax. If you give us $80,000 as a sponsor,
Right.
okay, and you pay sales tax, when the build is over, you can get half of that back. So what you gave us, you're really getting back, okay? If you send out employees to help us build, you can get all 80,000 back. So all you did is give us the money, and the state gave it back to you from sales tax. JM family is so good to Habitat, they give us the 80,000, and when they get their 80,000, they give it back to us. So JM is our #1 sponsor, the JM family, and they've been working with Habitat forever. And when we build their houses, they send out 100 employees at a time. They love us, we love them, and it's a great relationship, great relationship.
So essentially, the company makes its money off of selling at the value of the market. Then the end user gets their value by going in at 0% interest rate and a very low down payment. And then you fund it for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So then at the end of the 30 years, they own it outright. But what happens if they wanna move in 5 years? Do they have
Okay,
the
so
right
we
to
put
sell?
a restricted covenant on the deed
Okay,
that says that you will either, the next person that comes in has to be 80% or below also to keep it affordable. Now, if you pay, that's for 30 years,
okay.
the whole duration. Or if you pay it off first, which a lot of people do, because they start doubling up, and, you know, people move up in their job rankings, then you can sell it anytime you want.
If you pay it off early.
Yeah, and then you can sell it to the open market if it's worth $300,000-400,000, whatever. But you can't sell it to anybody for 30 years, as long as there's a mortgage with Habitat, unless it's 80% or less AMI.
Gotcha.
It's a restricted covenant on the deed.
And then,
That helps us control it.
so this is for Broward, but I assume that throughout the state, it's everywhere.
There's 1,200 affiliates throughout the country,
Right, so,
but some of them do it differently.
okay,
Some of them charge interest. Some of them have the bank's finances so they can recapitalize. Habitat just started, and we had a lot of good people in Broward County, and once we got that 300 loans, we have all those, every month we're getting 150,000 in. Plus we have the restore on Broward Boulevard, which generates another, we sell furniture that you give us.
right.
The markup is whatever it is, and it generates another revenue of like 1.5 million, and after all expenses, another 500,000. And then all the other ways that we get grants or whatever it is that we can help our home buyers.
Are the rental restrictions as well?
You can't rent the homes out. If we find out that you're renting the house, we come in, we have some clauses in our restricted covenants and all those documents that you sign. No, investors cannot. What happened, it was funny, some of the houses got so high up when we went to foreclosure that we usually buy them ourselves or keep them. But the investors started, when all those houses that left, that the banks had, left, there was a few houses, you know, every month there's houses that are being foreclosed on. They were bidding them up so high it wasn't worth it for us to take it back. So the investor, though, not smart, didn't read the deed restriction. So after they buy it and they didn't do their title search and have their attorney, because they're smart young people that are real estate experts, they call Woody and they say, hey, we got this problem. I said, what's your problem? He said, you guys got this deed restriction. And I said, good luck with that. You're an investor, you should know better to buy property without checking the title first. Actually, Miramar wanted to give me 3 lots and send them over to us quick claim deed, which if you took the law class, we all know what that means, right? It comes with no warranties. I told the city of Miramar, we don't take property at Habitat without checking the title first. My predecessor on that graph over here, he would buy lots from people just on the open market without checking the title first. Do you know what kind of risk that is? You could get $1 million code violation, and for $40,000 that you bought, then you bought it follows the land, then you bought that $1 million worth of debt. That's not a good way to do business.
How many gas stations did you find underneath those properties?
Which ones?
All of the guy before you. How many gas stations or old fuel tanks did you find?
No, you know, I do everything that real developers do. I don't circumvent the system. Especially after going through this school and being with Professor Hen, there's 42 people that you need to do one transaction. Of course, we all dumb that down to about 10, but I make sure that we have borings, I make sure that we have environmental. Now, city lots, I don't do that because they're already next to other houses and the odds are they're fine. But densities, title searches, all that stuff, when you're buying land, especially with other people, especially with my board's money, I have to be really, really careful. That 19th Street parallel line, I think I showed that in a couple other classes. I spent 6 months doing the due diligence on it. And that, even then, there was some risk. There's always a little risk when you go, because the city changes their mind or something. But I didn't not do the borings and the environmental. Okay, so there was a dry cleaner across the street in the shopping center next to where we're building. The guy calls me from GAF and he goes, hey, you've got a problem. I said, what's my problem? I said, I already, you know, I want to hear good news. Let's go, let's move on. He says, you had a dry cleaner, and just to be safe, because it's Habitat, we need to do a phase 2. Oh my gosh, you're killing me. What's that going to cost? Oh, $6,000. I'm like, that was not in my budget. But I talked to my CEO, and she said, well, what would you do, Woody? I said, I would get to phase 2 because you don't want to risk buying $500,000 and then finding out the problems there and have to mitigate it. We had some problem with the 77 units. There's a gas station across the street. When they originally did all the investigations on the phase 1, they said, hey, there's a gas station there, we probably should do a phase 2. And there was some leakage underneath the road, it's coming towards us, but their findings was, after we spent another $7,000, that it's okay because it's a very slow, gradual, and it probably will be stopped over there. But it's you know, the real estate business and finance, I think there's over 1,000 jobs, different types of jobs. And that's what I was going to say when I finish this, so you know, somebody else can get up and unless you have any other questions. It's an exciting, it's a great place for if you want to work, learn, and this school, I'll tell you a really quick story. When I was finishing, I kind of put myself on the open market just to see what was going to happen. And I thought maybe my tenure at Habitat may be over because I went to school, had 15 years experience, and there was a lot of offers, and I got a really good offer. And when I called KB Homes, I was telling Professor Worcester, and we talked. The guy knew the programming here at Nova Southeast. He was like, oh my God, that's really good. He was so excited. He said, when can you be here? It was in Tampa, though. And most of you know that my wife's the breadwinner in my family, so she makes the final decision. And I was right at the end of my school here.
Yeah, about 8 weeks.
Yeah, 8 weeks in.
before.
Yeah, before. And my wife said, listen, I know they love you, and you'll probably get the job because, you know, I have the experience, plus I have the school now. She goes, well, why don't you finish? Because you have so much stress right now, just trying to finish these last 3 or 4 classes. She said, you'll be a maniac if you're driving from Tampa back and forth. And so I took my wife, and then I had some other local things. So God bless, I ended up staying at Habitat, and they promoted me to vice president, so I have a lot more responsibility. Of course, I make a little more, but you know, you don't get it without being stressed and making making those hard decisions. And I hope I made a difference, and I've set some things up that make the affiliate good for many, many years. But we were like a mom and pop for a long, long time, and you can see that with some of the bad decisions that we made. But I think the school, if you have some talents and you have some skills, and you take what they're giving you for all that you paid, you can go and start in maybe like Chris did at DR Horton, but they're going to train you for free. I mean, you're making money and they're training you because you're not going to know all that stuff. And after a couple of years, you could write your own check. You know, some people have family businesses that they build homes. Like, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Brandon.
Brandon. Yeah. Brandon's family's really big into development, and he's probably here so he can learn all those things that his dad didn't teach him. But it's an exciting field, and you know, people stay in it for 40, 50 years, and you don't have to make the millions. You could be okay at $200,000 or $300,000 a year. But it's all up to you, because when you don't make assignment times and you don't conduct yourself properly in class, the business world's exactly the same as it is here. And there's a lot of performance indicators and a lot of crap that you're going to do, and nobody's going to sit there and hold your hand.
By the way,
Nobody's going to sit there and
this
hold your hand.
endorsement was not paid commercial.
So anyway, I hope you guys, my email's on, everybody, a lot of you already know me, but hey, how are you back there? I just think you guys have an opportunity that most people don't get. I hope you finish. I know there's some people that struggle, but nobody's giving it to you in life. I went to school when I was 40, and then I went again at 55. So it's not easy, but my wife's glad I'm back.
Yeah. Steve, you want to go, and then hoping that Woody can stay a little bit longer because you have a flight to catch, you said.
You just said.
Yeah.
I had a lot of nice, more nice slides.
Yeah.
We'll plug it out.
On the bottom.
Way to go, Angela. I like saw it out of the corner of my eye.
Doesn't know what
analysis and everything.
This is May 4th? Can I say it now?
Yeah, May 4th.
Okay, so May 4th, whoever is in the class, I don't know how Professor has it set up, but we're going to do some activities on a job site that we're building 77 units. It should be really fun. It's always spiritual. The families will be out there with us. I'll be there. And then when we're finished with that, Alex is going to go over how we schedule homes and some other of those neat things that if you're ever a builder to enhance it. So I hope to see you all out there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully you'll learn something about the development and construction business.
Yeah,
May 4th.
It's always fun. We have
with
done-
us.
What's that?
May the 4th be with us.
Yeah, exactly. If you wear a Star Trek T-shirt that day, I kick you out of the construction site.
It's Star Wars.
Star Wars. Exactly. That's the other side of the universe. Yeah, May 4th. What you need to figure out? It's probably 8 o'clock arrival or start.
No, it's a little earlier than that. We have our prayer at 8. So you should start traversing in around 7:45. Get your hard hat. If we're doing that, and you know, we do like you don't have to be part of it. We do a big prayer in the morning since we're a religious organization, and then we go over some safety rules and stuff, and then we have some fun for like 3 or 4 hours. I don't know. We're building so many houses. I don't know which houses we'll be in, but we'll find something for everybody, and it ought to be a lot of fun. We're finishing up 7 houses, and we started another bunch.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. We have done this as faculty and staff. I've done this last year with students outside of the class, and based on the location and the timing, we basically said, you know what, this is the last weekend of the semester. You gotta blow off some steam, but you still have to get grades properly submitted on time. So we're doing volunteer work in the morning. Yeah, so if you prefer to sleep in on a Saturday and finish all your assignments, I'm okay with that. But at 12:30, 1 p.m., further announcements due, we're going to meet with the crew on the site. If you happen to be at the same site at 7:30 a.m. already and do something good to the community, wonderful. But you gotta be there for the folks in the construction management class and volunteers in the morning. Gotta be there in the afternoon for the field trip assignment. Yeah? We can organize car rides, share carpooling if you want to. It's been tricky to schedule these in a particular file. Again, we don't know if we end up painting kitchen and bathrooms or if we do trussing like last year. We're doing this rain or shine. Now, last year we had 90 degrees, blue sky, in a shell, putting trussing out. It was really fun, sunburn was high, dehydration was happy. But you make a difference. I actually passed those homes from last year a few times a year, like once a month running that.
They came out really pretty.
This is what we did. This is what we have done. And if you talk to folks from last year's cohort, I had students that are eager to be developers, and they had their first 6-inch nail, 5-inch nail and a hammer in the hand, and actually hammered those trussings and the roofing parts together. So this is one of the great moments where you're like, all right, how do I form concrete? How does actually a 16-story building will look like if it's just in the rough? We're going to do that next Saturday. So again, this residential office space, the type of residential is a little bit dominant with those trips, but you get exposure to that. And there's nothing better than doing good things in the community. And I'm completely amazed usually about the fresh smell of concrete and woodworks. I need to go back to my woodwork shops. Speaking of going back, let's go back to Steve. Hi.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve McGuash. I know most of you have met me here in the past, a lot of familiar faces. You know, this presentation I'm about to show you is a little insight into Pine Development, a company that I founded with a previous student I met in class.